When I was a child, I used to wake up to the gentle sound of a wooden pestle grinding sesame in my grandmother's kitchen. The scent was warm, nutty, comforting. She never rushed. She never skipped a day. And she never, not once, complained of aching knees. She lived to be 97. Today, at 85, I follow the same morning ritual. And my joints, still faithful. It made me wonder, could the quiet things we eat each day be more powerful than we realize? Modern science now says yes. A recent study found that older adults who regularly consume specific nuts and seeds experience less joint pain, better circulation, and reduced swelling in the legs. So today, I want to share with you 6 of these small but powerful foods. They won't promise miracles, but if you give them time, they might just give you back the ease you thought was gone forever. Before we begin, where are you watching from, and what time is it for you right now? Please share in the comments below, and if you're on a journey to feel stronger, steadier, and more at home in your body. Don't forget to subscribe. Let's begin. I still remember her hands, weathered, soft, and sure. Each morning, just as the sun touched the edge of the sliding doors, my grandmother would sit on the tatami mat and begin her ritual. A small wooden bowl, a handful of roasted sesame seeds, the slow, rhythmic movement of the pestle. No noise, no rush, just purpose. She would hum quietly, an old Okinawan melody I've long since forgotten the words to, but never the feeling. At the time, I thought it was just tradition, a habit from the past. But as the years went on, and I watched her move gracefully into her 80s and then 90s, I began to realize something powerful was unfolding in front of me. She never complained of pain, no swollen ankles, no stiff knees. She walked with a steadiness that defied her age. She carried groceries. She gardened. She laughed easily, and when people asked her secret, she would smile and say, "Just a few seeds and a grateful heart." Now, at 85, I understand. I've followed her steps. Every morning, before the world stirs, I sit quietly. I grind sesame seeds by hand. I breathe deeply. And I eat a light, warm breakfast, never in front of a screen, never in a rush. My joints, still faithful. My balance, still strong. And my heart, still soft. You see, in Japan, we don't separate food from medicine. We don't wait for pain to knock loudly. We listen while it still whispers. And that whisper begins each morning with a small act of care that turns into a lifetime of strength. Now, let me show you why our legs begin to ache as we age, and what your body may be quietly asking for. Have you ever stood up from a chair and felt like your legs had forgotten how? That slow, stiff rise, the unexpected ache in your knees, the swelling that creeps in by evening, like an old friend you never invited. It doesn't happen overnight. It begins quietly, years before we notice. You see, our bodies change with time, not with announcements, but with whispers. One of the first things to slow is circulation. Blood doesn't move as easily through our legs as it once did. And when we sit too long, or don't walk as often, that blood begins to pool. Fluid collects. Ankles swell. A heaviness sets in. It's called peripheral edema. And it's far more common than you think. Next, we lose something most of us don't even know we have. Collagen. Collagen is the silent scaffolding beneath our skin. It cushions our joints, strengthens our ligaments, and keeps our bones from grinding together like old floorboards. But after age 50, our natural collagen production drops, slowly, steadily. And with less cushioning, our knees creak, our hips ache, inflammation builds. Add to that a modern diet, often too salty, too processed, too fast. And the result? More swelling, less movement, and a deep fatigue that feels like it's soaked into the bones. But here's the thing. In my hometown in Japan, many elders in their 70s and 80s still walk daily. They still sit on the floor. They still prepare their own meals, often with the very seeds I'll share with you soon. They don't chase youth. They nurture steadiness, and that makes all the difference. Because pain is not the enemy. It's a messenger. And if we learn to listen, we may find that our bodies aren't giving up. They're just asking for help. Now, let's explore how the Japanese philosophy of food as gentle medicine begins to answer that call. In Japan, we don't ask, "What should I eat to fix this?" We ask, "What can I eat to stay in rhythm with my body?" This rhythm, quiet, steady, respectful, is at the heart of our longevity. It's not about restriction. It's not about fads or superfoods. It's about gentle medicine, daily choices that speak to the body like an old friend. We call this approach shakiku. It means nutritional wisdom that nourishes not just the body, but the spirit. It teaches us to eat slowly, to chew fully, to offer gratitude with every bite. And there's another teaching, one from Okinawa, where I was raised. It's called harahachi bu. Eat until you're 80% full, not stuffed, not deprived, just enough. This way of eating creates space for digestion, for movement, for healing. In the West, food is often treated like fuel. Fast, functional, forgettable. But in Japanese homes, especially among the elders, meals are like ceremonies. A bowl of rice isn't just rice, it's warmth, memory, grounding. A sprinkle of sesame isn't garnish, it's strength, balance, history. We sit on the floor. We use both hands to hold our bowls. We don't multitask while we eat. And while science is just beginning to uncover the effects of these habits, those of us who've lived them for decades, we already feel the difference. Less inflammation, more clarity, steadier legs, softer mornings. And it begins with something very small. One seed, one spoon, one quiet meal. Now, let me introduce you to the first of these humble heroes. Tiny, soft, almost invisible, but packed with power. Let's begin with chia seeds. He was 6, my grandson. Curious eyes, sticky fingers, 1,000 questions. One morning, he pointed to a little jar of black seeds by my teacups. "Grandma," he asked, "why do you keep those tiny things? They don't even look like food." I smiled, poured a spoonful into a glass of warm water, and handed it to him. "Watch," I said. "Give it a few minutes." The seeds began to swell, quietly, gently, each one forming a soft, jelly-like coat. "They look like they're breathing," he whispered. And in a way, they are. These tiny seeds, chia seeds, aren't native to Japan, but they've found a quiet home in our kitchens, especially among elders like me, who believe in food that heals from the inside out. I first learned about them from a friend, a soft-spoken woman in her 80s, who had studied nutrition in California. She walked with ease, had glowing skin, and always moved with purpose. When she told me she swore by chia for joint pain and swelling, I listened. Skeptical at first, I started small, a spoonful soaked in water each morning, then added to miso soup, mixed into rice porridge, even stirred into grated apple with cinnamon. And within 3 months, I noticed something subtle, but life-changing. My knees no longer protested in the morning. The swelling in my ankles, once a daily visitor by sunset, had softened. I walked steadier. I stood longer. I slept deeper. But why? Because chia seeds, though tiny, are rich in omega-3s, particularly ALA, a plant-based fatty acid known to reduce inflammation. And inflammation, as you know, is the silent thief behind so much joint pain. They also offer gentle plant protein, which helps rebuild collagen, and soluble fiber, which keeps digestion smooth and blood sugar steady. 2 things often overlooked in reducing leg swelling. There's a saying in Japan, "Chikoto shiai wa hajimaru." Happiness begins with small things. Chia is exactly that. No cooking, no fuss, just soak, stir, and sip. My neighbor, Mrs. Solito, who just turned 87, calls it her morning knee medicine. She stirs it into lemon water with a touch of honey and says, "It feels like my joints are smiling." And when she walks, you can believe it. So if you're tired of stiff mornings, start here, 1 spoon, 1 quiet shift. Because healing isn't always loud. Sometimes, it begins with the smallest seed. Next, let me show you the nut that walks with me every afternoon. My quiet friend for aging knees, the walnut. Every afternoon, as the sun begins to stretch long shadows across the garden, I take a walk. Nothing ambitious, just a few blocks to the old park. But in my pocket, always, is a small cloth pouch. Inside, 5 walnuts. Not as a snack, not as a treat, but as a quiet act of care for my knees. You see, when I turned 70, I began noticing something I had never paid attention to. Squatting to tie my shoes became a slower process. Climbing stairs demanded more effort. And kneeling, something I once did easily during tea ceremonies, began to feel unfamiliar. My doctor called it normal aging. But something inside me resisted that phrase. Just because something is common doesn't mean it has to be accepted without question. So I turned, like my grandmother once did, to food. In Japan, we call walnuts kurumi. They've long been valued in traditional medicine, not just for their taste, but for their warming energy and ability to nourish the bones. Modern science now confirms what our ancestors already knew. Walnuts are rich in alpha-linolenic acid, ALA, a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid proven to reduce joint inflammation. They also contain protein and antioxidants that support collagen production and protect the soft cartilage inside your knees. I once read a study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. It found that seniors who regularly consumed walnuts had lower markers of inflammation and improved joint mobility. But honestly, I didn't need a study. I just needed to feel it. After 3 months of eating 5 walnuts a day, I noticed I no longer hesitated before standing. My knees stopped creaking like old doors. And slowly, joy returned to movement. Now, I mash walnuts with miso and spread them over steamed vegetables. Sometimes, I mix chopped walnuts into warm rice or soft tofu. It's not just delicious, it's grounding, satisfying, healing. My friend Mr. Tanaka, he's 91, sits under the same tree in the park every afternoon. He eats 5 walnuts too. Any more, he says, and you stop listening to what your body actually needs. That's the thing about walnuts. They're rich, but never heavy. Healing, but never loud. They remind us to care for the joints that have carried us this far, and to do so gently, with moderation, and with reverence. Next, I want to tell you about the nut that helped my balance, softened my skin, and brought calm to my mornings. Let's talk about almonds. When I was a young woman, I used to admire my mother's hands. Even in her 70s, her skin was smooth, her fingers strong, her grip steady. She would often say, "Take care of your hands and legs, they carry your spirit." Back then, I smiled, not fully understanding. But now, at 85, I do. Because as we age, we begin to realize it's not just our bones that weaken, it's the very structure that holds our memories, our work, our gestures of love. That's why almonds have become one of my most trusted companions. They're not traditional in Japan. We didn't grow up with them. But over the past decade, many elders like me have quietly adopted them. Not for trend, but for truth. A single handful of almonds offers so much: magnesium, which helps our muscles relax and supports bone density; calcium, vital for strong, steady legs; and vitamin E, an antioxidant that protects the delicate tissues in our joints and keeps the skin vibrant. I began eating 6 soaked almonds each morning. I soak them overnight, something I learned from a kind woman in Kyoto who believed it made them easier to digest. She was right. Soaking softens the texture, releases the sweetness, and makes each bite feel gentle, nourishing. And slowly, I began to notice subtle shifts. The skin on my hands grew softer. My knees, less tired by afternoon. My balance, more stable, especially when walking over uneven ground. I wasn't aiming to look young, but I began to feel more present in my body, more connected, more confident. Each morning, I sit by my window with warm barley tea, 6 soaked almonds in a small dish. No TV, no phone, just the sound of the breeze through the trees, and the quiet knowledge that I'm caring for the body that has carried me. In Japan, this way of living has a name: shakiku. It's not just nutrition, it's harmony between food, body, and spirit. My friend Yoko, who teaches chair yoga to seniors, always says, "Eat almonds before class. They give you energy without heaviness. Your knees will thank you." And she's right, because mine already have. Now let's walk into autumn together, a season of grounding, reflection, and quiet strength, and discover a seed that brings zinc, warmth, and memory: pumpkin seeds. Autumn in Japan is soft. The light turns golden, the wind cools, and kitchens across the country begin to fill with the scent of roasted squash. When I was little, I used to help my grandmother scoop seeds from kabocha squash. She would rinse them gently, dry them under the sun, then roast them with a touch of sea salt. "These little ones," she said, "make your legs strong and your skin smooth." At the time, I didn't know what she meant, but now I do. Because those seeds, pumpkin seeds, or kabocha no tan, are one of the richest plant sources of zinc. And zinc, though often forgotten, plays a critical role in how we age. Without enough zinc, our bodies struggle to repair collagen, the protein that cushions our joints and strengthens our skin. We bruise more easily. We heal more slowly. Our knees ache longer after a walk. Even swelling in our lower legs can be linked to low zinc and weak connective tissues. I began adding pumpkin seeds back into my meals, not as a snack, but as quiet medicine. 2 tablespoons a day, sometimes sprinkled over miso soup, other times ground with white miso and mirin into a creamy paste for grilled eggplant. My favorite? A warm rice bowl with pumpkin seeds, toasted sesame, and shiso leaves. It tastes like memory, and it heals like time. But there's another seed I discovered later in life, one that helped me recover after a fall in the garden left my hip sore and slow to heal. Hemp seeds. They're small, soft, and often misunderstood. But inside them is a treasure, a complete protein with all 9 essential amino acids, vital for tissue repair and collagen synthesis. They also carry the perfect balance of omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, known to reduce chronic inflammation. After that fall, instead of strong medications, I chose food. A spoonful of hemp seeds stirred into rice porridge each morning, sprinkled over steamed greens at lunch, and even blended into warm barley tea in the evening. Within weeks, the ache softened, my sleep deepened, and I could walk again without hesitation. There's a saying in Japanese philosophy: we don't rush healing, we create space for it. Hemp and pumpkin seeds help do just that. No sugar, no noise, just dense, quiet power, wrapped in a shell, waiting to serve. My friend Mr. Hiroshi, a retired gardener, still grows his own vegetables at 90. He swears by his homemade furikake blend, crushed pumpkin seeds, bonito flakes, and seaweed. "It keeps me mobile through winter," he says. And I believe him, because some seeds don't just feed us, they prepare us for stillness, for resilience, for the seasons ahead. Now, let me take you back to where it all began, to the seed that holds memory, medicine, and tradition in every warm, nutty aroma. Sesame. If I close my eyes, I can still smell the kitchen. Warm, nutty, alive. It was always sesame, freshly toasted, ground slowly in a small mortar by my mother's steady hands. That scent wasn't just flavor. It was memory, it was care. Sesame seeds, goma in Japanese, have been a part of our meals for centuries, not as decoration, but as medicine, tradition, and strength. Each tiny seed carries essential calcium, magnesium, and copper, the very minerals our bones quietly cry out for as we age. But sesame goes further. It contains sesamin, a unique compound shown to reduce inflammation and oxidative stress, 2 of the greatest culprits behind aching joints and swollen legs. But more than nutrients, sesame teaches us rhythm. We don't sprinkle it mindlessly, we grind it to release its oils. We mix it into warm tofu, blend it into sauces, even steep it in hot water before bed. Each act is slow, each act is intentional, and over time, each act becomes strength. I eat sesame daily, a spoonful with my morning rice, a soft goma dressing over boiled spinach. Sometimes I stir black sesame paste into warm almond milk at night. It helps me sleep. It soothes the tension in my calves. It roots me. A calligraphy teacher I once met in Kyoto was 93. She still sat cross-legged for hours. When I asked how, she smiled and said, "Sesame keeps the oil in my joints." And her fingers moved across the page like wind through bamboo. In traditional medicine, black sesame is said to warm the kidneys, strengthen the blood, and restore vitality in the lower body. It's a seed of circulation, of memory, of movement. Modern science now agrees. A study published in the Journal of Medicinal Foods showed that older adults who consumed sesame extract daily reported less joint pain and improved mobility in just 2 months. But for me, the proof isn't in the paper. It's in the way I feel, steady, grounded, grateful. Because these 6 seeds and nuts, they're not trends, they're not miracles, they're companions. Each one, in its quiet way, helps the body remember how to heal. And in Japan, we don't chase youth. We honor the years. We care for the bones that carried us, the joints that moved us, the legs that still walk us gently through life. So start small. Soak a few almonds, stir chia into your morning tea, sprinkle sesame over your rice. Let one tiny thing lead the way. Because aging isn't the end of vitality. It's the beginning of deeper wisdom, softer mornings, and the quiet strength you've carried all along. Before you go, I'd love to know, where are you watching this from? And what time is it for you right now? Please share in the comments. I truly look forward to reading them. And don't forget to subscribe. More healing stories await.